Welcome to the If You Build It, Will They Learn podcast, a show dedicated to modern learning and development. With your hosts, Daniel Mendonca and Scott Babcock.
It's podcast day. This is If You Build It, Will They Learn? I'm your host, Daniel Mendonca, running, flying solo, something like that, while Scott is out on assignment. And by assignment, I mean on the beaches of Mexico, as he mentioned last week. Sent me a lot of pictures. They were captioned obnoxious photo 1 and so on yesterday. I had some derogatory terms for him after that, but I hope he's enjoying his vacation, his well-deserved vacation. I think after the past 18 months, we all deserve a little bit of a vacation. Today, we have a pretty exciting podcast to kind of lead into a couple weeks of holidays here in North America. We have obviously the Canadian holiday weekend. I'm excited for that. Hope you are too. And we have and then Memorial Day coming up the weekend after that. So I hope you're excited for that too. We at If You Build It, Will They Learn, not taking any weeks off across the holidays. So we will be flying hopefully together next week and enjoying a great podcast. On this week's episode, though, I'm pretty pumped about this episode, and I'm pretty pumped to go solo and have a little monologue session here with you all around momentum and motivation in learning. Obviously, with the pandemic around, all this work from home structure for everybody over the past, I guess I said 18 months, but close to that. It's been some days hard to be motivated and keep momentum. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Some great statistics that have come up over the past few weeks. And on that note, let's get right into it. So we are over a year into the new world of work, working from home, a hybrid model of home and office, which some businesses are starting to go back to. And the first question we want to ask ourselves is, what have we learned over the past year, or just over a year? We've learned that 83% of employees or workers say that they're more productive working from home. And that's due to a lot of the situation with less distractions, being able to shut down, not having people walk by your office and other things. They're able to get more tasks done. What does that mean for employers? And what does that mean for people when they're at home? The question that keeps coming up with people who are working from home is when we go back to normal, per se, will you stay working from home? Will you be a hybrid model, or will you go back to the office? And those results are mixed. But the common theme I know with my team and with others when I talk to coworkers, clients, and others is how in some tough moments do you stay motivated? Sometimes you start your day at 9 a.m., you roll out of bed at 8:45, and maybe you don't want to put on some jeans or proper pants. You just stay in your pajamas and you slip over to your desk. Does that really help you be motivated in your work, be motivated in your role, and create some momentum? And as a employee, as yourself, there's a couple things that you can do to keep yourself motivated and keep yourself engaged. And I just wanted to talk through a couple of tips and tricks that I've seen work for myself. We've seen work for some of our team members around the office, and talk about that quickly. So number one, the first thing that I always recommend to people, and I've seen work for a lot of our teammates at Halite, is having a space that is your workspace. Now, it's not always possible, depending on where you live, but having a space where if you're working, maybe throwing your laptop on your lap in your bed is not the ideal scenario to be the most productive. Getting up, making your coffee, making a breakfast, or whatever you need to do, and going to your computer or to your workstation the same way you would go to the office is going to put you in that mood, per se, to be productive. So that's number one. Number two, for some tips and tricks, is to schedule your day the same way you would if you were going to the office. So during 9 to 5, if you're getting really traditional, or whatever your workday looks like for you, making sure that it's structured where you don't have any distractions. It's really easy during the day to get up, go do the dishes, do some laundry, do this, do that, whatever you need to do. And that's fine for a break or other things, but you still want to make sure that you have a structure and you're staying course to what makes you productive in your environment. And overall, I mean, what do those things, two things have in common? It's all about routine. So the reason why we can be productive at home is because we have a structured routine, which takes that whole routine and makes you more productive over time because you feel comfortable in what you're looking to do. Now that I spend a little bit of time speaking directly to you as the employee or the worker in this case, or maybe if we're thinking about the learning environment, the learner in this case, to talk about your productivity and how to stay motivated yourself at home, I want to flip the script a little bit and talk about the way this has changed organizations and the way this has changed learning and development as a whole for businesses. Um, there's a few different combinations here. One of the things in, I guess we'll call it the 2021 employee or the modern employee, or if you really want to get stereotypical on the podcast today, we could say, millennials and Gen Z. I do want to make this case though, because a lot of people paint millennials as these young individuals. The truth of the matter is, this is the first year that millennials are actually 40. So millennials aren't these, although I think 40 is pretty young these days. Millennials aren't these young bucks, but the question you got to ask yourself is, how do you, in a remote environment, keep your employee motivated? About 18 months ago, let's call it last January 2020, pre-pandemic, no one saw this coming. If you would have went to your employer and asked if you could work remotely full time or even part time, I would probably guess that the majority of you would have got a big fat stinking no. And there was a lot of employees I know and people I know who were out there trying to get that for themselves. And the reasons why is, optics. You didn't want to seem like you were being treated differently than others. You wanted to make sure that you were there and you were collaborative and you were part of the team. They were concerned about your productivity and your ability to deliver work and your projects and your tasks on time. And then what happened in March and we talked about this before on the podcast, we were all thrown a wrench and everybody had to be remote and had no choice but to be productive. And what resulted of that was the reality that we can work remotely. The thing that we are missing a little bit with being the remote workforce is as an employer, as an organization, is how do you keep your teammates engaged in the direction the company is going? It's very easy to feel isolated. Yes, you can be productive. Yes, you can complete your tasks and that, but are you engaged in the direction the company is going? Are you engaged in your role? Is this just a job that you're kind of clocking in, clocking out, completing your tasks, or are you really engaged and motivated to be part of the success of the company? And this goes back to what I wanted to call out. Just an additional statistic. Right now, 74% of people have said they're not reaching their full potential due to lack of personal development and those opportunities being presented by their employer. And when we take these statistics and we look at the scenario we are in today, we know that the modern learner, the modern employee is looking for personal development opportunities, looking to grow and be engaged within their role. And that is harder than ever. So when we talk about momentum and motivation, you as an employer have the ability to reach out, provide those opportunities. Yes, I will say that when we talk about personal development opportunities, the employee needs to look for them themselves, but they're also willing to get tasks that allow them to improve in their role. We talked about mastery or movement before. Get better, master their current role or move into others. So if you give them those opportunities, there's a chance that that's going to create more momentum and create a more engaged and a more learner and employee, which is going to allow them to be successful. Basing off what I just talked about, personal development, those sorts of opportunities, career pathing, and other things that are based on the progression of you in your role, either in your current role or into new roles. There's a lot of questions, comments, concerns that come up when you look at people working from home and what sort of momentum that associates themselves with. So the first study that I've read and some articles that I've been reading from different businesses about recently is that if you're working from home and when you go back to the office, if you choose to work from home full time or the majority of the time, um, that takes away from the personality that maybe would get your boss to like you more, um, get to know the people around you and make you, a more productive or attractive candidate for a promotion and other things. And that's been a concern of some employees because they're not able to get to know people the same way they would in the office and let their personality speak for themselves and show how great it is to work with them and other things. Um, so people are nervous that the people who work from the office full time are going to be eligible for the promotions and going to be more considered for the promotions and given opportunities that maybe working from remotely won't allow them to do. So that's one of the things that can stunt momentum. But as I talk about that, I also want to look at the other side. um, One of the reasons you get promoted and you get new roles and your personal development path and your career path can continue to progress is because of the merit of the work you're completing. And if you're in a remote environment, you're judged primarily on the work that you're completing and being able to deliver on time, deliver effectively, do things, complete tasks, collaborate with your team remotely shows that you can deliver and do it well, which gives you a non-biased, a completely unbiased review of yourself as an employee and your ability to complete the task. So there's definitely both sides of that, but I want to relate them both back to the combination of engagement in the workforce around training and providing development opportunities to your employees. The term that gets thrown around a lot is out of sight, out of mind. Employees that work remotely may be forgotten for things, maybe not shown the opportunities to learn, maybe they don't get opportunities to sit in a lunch and learn. And what I would advise people to do is make sure when you're thinking about your team as a whole, you're really considering how you're training everyone. And going back to learning strategies and objectives, our goal on this podcast, always talking about objectives, or myself at least, and I'm sure Scott, when he's listening to this on the beach in Mexico, is going to have some joke run through his head about me bringing up objectives again. But if my objective is continue to progress learning and engagement and employee momentum, and one of my L&D philosophies in our organization is something we've talked about is delivering content to the learner the way they want to consume it, then putting together a great employment growth plan or employment development plan in for remote employees is exactly that: delivering content, delivering e-learning, delivering information to the employees where they want to receive it and where they feel comfortable receiving it, and combining the way they want to work now in 2021, a hybrid model or working remotely, with the opportunity to grow, personal development opportunities to grow as people, and grow as employees, and grow in the role and stay at a company longer. um, those sorts of things, providing them the space to work how they want to work, how they feel comfortable working, combining that with a continued stream of personal development opportunities really creates momentum within your organization. It's going to create motivation of your employees. They're going to be more engaged. They're going to want to recommend people to new roles. And when new opportunities come up for new projects or new assignments, they're going to jump at them because they feel like the company's working for them, so they want to work for the company. And that's a big thing to consider when you talk about momentum and motivation and combining the strategies of work from home with personal development in your employees. All right, to wrap everything up, hope you're not tired of listening to my voice yet. Um, the truth of the matter is, like we said, I don't think remote work is going anywhere. I think when things turn back to normal, we're going to see a huge spike of people wanting to go back to the office. And then I think everybody's going to settle in a nice hybrid model that's full of flexibility and comfort for them, um, and is providing them the workspace that they feel comfortable with, and also providing them with the ability to grow in their role based upon what their company provides to them. And the more you can encourage that growth mindset, the more you can encourage being motivated in your role and providing them resources of how to be productive from home. It's going to just continue to give people like they're part of a company. They're part of a community that is the organization, and learning can be a big foundation of that. continuously providing learning opportunities, growth opportunities as an L&D professional with a group of employees or as a manager is going to allow people to grow and be excited about the company they work for and excited about the plan and the progress. And then when it comes a time when you really have to change something or implement a new process, there's going to be a lot of receptiveness to adapt and change and move forward. So take the time to speak to your employees, speak to your team members about how they want to learn, what they want to learn, what their goals are, what their objectives are, if they want to be working from home, if they want to be in the office, what that looks like to them, and how they feel most comfortable. And if you want to be a big part, a catalyst to driving momentum, then being able to deliver the experience that they're looking for. And today, the modern learner, the modern employee is going to be a great way to get them on your side and keep momentum and motivation going forward. All right, at that time of the show again, going to be a solo positivity point today. I hope that tomorrow morning when Scott wakes up and he decides to put on the If You Build It, Will They Learn podcast to watch the sunrise in sunny Mexico. And there is no better way that he does it to the sound of my voice. Scott, this is for you, my positivity point. All right. My positivity point for the day is just around where we are right now. I think, we've had enough talks about the pandemic, and we've had some ones that have been glum, but it's nice to see the world opening up. There's been a little bit of a positivity that's coming in my life. It's just the fact that Scott got on a plane and went to Mexico. It makes things, us think that things are going, things are going in the right direction. I have my vaccine today. I know Sabrina's been vaccinated. Scott's been vaccinated. So we're all kind of headed in the right direction. But on top of that, the weather here in Windsor-Essex County has just turned a corner. It's going to be in the 80s today. It's really kind of summer has started. This coming weekend's the holiday weekend, which usually results in some hanging by the pool, maybe drinking a couple, nice cold, non-alcoholic beverages. No, I'm kidding. Whatever floats your boat, but it's the unofficial start to summer. It's really a big part of, I guess, a fun next few months. So I'm excited that summer's here. I'm excited the weather has turned a little bit. I'm excited that we're all, thinking about traveling and going different places. It's a positive start to the year, and I'm excited to be here. Hope you enjoyed this week's solo podcast. I'll tell you, talking for 20 minutes, although I love to hear myself talk, can be difficult. So I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to like, share. Thanks everybody for listening to the podcast and supporting it. I hope, Scott, you're enjoying your vacation. But thank you very much. And the full crew, we'll see you again next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the If You Build It, Will They Learn podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Join the conversation by emailing us at podcast@haylight.com. Find us on social media at Build It, Learn It, and be sure to check us out on the web at www.haylight.com. That's HALIGHT.com.